Welcome to Sic'Em365 Radio.
It was exciting to play a game again, because I haven't played since March, if you think about it. So it was just exciting to be back on the court with my teammates and with my coaches and getting a win for sure.
Sic'Em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
I think the story is, I think Charlie whipped into him when he ran it. I think it was a play where he jumped on the sideline. He jumped, tried to get the first down. He dove out on the sideline. I think he led with Coach Wick. I think that's what happened.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
That itself, him even saying something little pumps the team up. I mean, we want to play for him and with him. So just anything he says or does, we're right behind him.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, good afternoon. There's an NFL football game going on, and right now Pittsburgh and Baltimore early on. A little bit of a Baylor note right there with RG3 getting the start against the Ravens. His opening drive went 3 and out. 5-yard pass, no yard gain on a run, and a -1 yard pass, and Pittsburgh got it back, but that game's early on. We'll update on occasion that game between the Steelers and Ravens that's finally being played. The Ravens are the next team. Cowboys will play sometime next week. Number 2, Baylor, and number 5, Illinois. J.D. makes her debut. Baylor football is Oklahoma. And also, this note from Tyler McComas, who covers Oklahoma up in the Oklahoma City, Norman area. David, this is from last night. At the moment, it looks like Oklahoma has 5 defensive players and 3 coaches that won't be available for Saturday. But to my understanding, they're still really going to push to play the game. Just a heads up. We'll hear from either Josh Fleeks or Jason Moore or Abram Smith here momentarily. We'll hear from J.D. Richards after their win at South Florida last night, and also hear from Alex Olson, who helped her in her recovery from day one of the collision to being able to play last night. The news we had for you at the end of the show. I have not heard anything back from Tyler. That's kind of what we heard. Mack Rhodes said, hey, listen, there's some things they got to clear. But that's from a guy right there in the backyard in Norman, Oklahoma. So we'll see how that goes and see if there's any new updates with that, in fact, as the day goes on. Jason Moore, offensive lineman. He's been playing center, right, Paul?
Yeah, mostly. I don't think he's played any really time at guard. He's mostly been playing center. They've been rotating in and out, and that's been a problem. They don't seem, when asked, to think that it is, but I think it really is.
No, it to me is, unless you had 9 5-year seniors, or maybe a couple of blue chips that are maybe sophomores or juniors. To me, Craig, your thoughts about rotating the offensive line? It's a position that cohesiveness is huge, and they've had to battle through some delays and suspensions and whatever else. But do you see are they getting any better?
I have no idea. I'm not an offensive line guru. It doesn't appear so. I mean, to me, I don't see a running game of any sort, of any fashion, other than Charlie Brewer occasionally running the football. He's been able to do that lately, but he wasn't able to even do that early on. So I guess from that standpoint, that's improved to where Charlie can get some rushing yards, but it's tough sledding for anybody else that's not Brewer to try and move forward in any way or shape or form. And it felt like they maybe had gotten onto something with Squirrel, maybe Quaylon Jones to an extent, but then he doesn't play last week. Squirrel's obviously been out for a few weeks now. So I mean, I'm sure, if you broke it all the way down, there's been improvement, but it's not been noticeable enough to just a common folk like me that, can tell the difference between a pretty good O-line and somebody who's not very good. They still just look pretty middle of the road to me.
You know what I see? I don't see very little push, very little movement, anything that is any kind of daylight. And so Jason Moore today, part of the media session with the players that spoke with the media. Paul Catalina has been kind of popping on this players rotating on the offensive line quite a bit, maybe more than you would think. We cannot talk to Joe Wickline. and the assistant coaches. And so it's, we can on occasion ask Dave Aranda about that, and he's answered it on occasion. Here's Jason Moore, Paul Catalina on the rotation, and then he gets descriptive of what happened to offensive line coach Joe Wickline when he almost bled to death.
Jason, you guys have had to rotate in and out a lot, and the same five haven't been in there a whole lot. How hard is that to build that cohesiveness that you're trying to get when you've had guys banged up and running in and out?
It's difficult at times, but it's good to know that you have brothers that are able to step in and help out whenever you're in a time of need. So we rotated a little bit to keep guys fresh and stuff like that. But we all do the same preparation day in and day out each day. So like when I look to my left and right, like I'm confident knowing that whoever's in there, like we're all prepared to do our job.
Okay, and take me through what you guys were thinking when you were looking at Coach Wickline's leg bleeding all over the place on Saturday night, and if that was a distraction, and then when he came back all stitched up, what was that like?
It wasn't a distraction. We were all caught off guard. At first, we just came off to the sideline to get some adjustments from him, and we saw like his shoe was covered in blood and his pants were bloody. We saw him get like taken out to go get some stitches, and he came back eventually. But I mean, it just shows that these coaches are in it with us, and like they're there in the trenches too, and they're just as tough and toughing through things just like we are.
Jerry Hill.
Jason, following up on that, did he ever tell you what happened? I mean, all we heard was that it was, a block or something. He didn't see it coming, and I guess somebody, whiplashed him or something.
I think the story is, I think Charlie whipped into him when he ran it. I think it was a play where he jumped on the sideline. He jumped, tried to get the first down. He dove out on the sideline. I think he leg with Coach Wick. I think that's what happened. But he never gave us an official story from him like himself.
And he never will.
No, he probably never will, although it's interesting to continue that. That's something that got a lot of play yesterday. And, again, it's a different story when you win. Then it would be a little bit different than if you had lost that game. So Baylor and Oklahoma, obviously Oklahoma may not be at full strength. Guess what? Welcome to what is like for some teams, but Oklahoma not at full strength is usually pretty much better than most others, even at full strength as well. So that's the deal. College football last night released their standings. We don't really spend a lot of time digesting it, but it's a little interesting this week. Nothing really changed among the top 7 or so. There was what's going to happen between A&M and Florida because they could get into a TCU-Baylor 2014 scenario. Not yet, but they're both outside the top 4. And there's Ohio State again at 4-0 with 2 games left if they play them with Michigan State and Michigan. And Barry Alvarez today, while on a radio station, saying that, well, we might, as ADs in the conference, have to kind of look back at this about whether or not you have to have a certain amount of games to get in the championship game.
Well, it's interesting that when everybody crapped all over the Big 12 when they didn't have a distinct plan, and now here the Big 10 is going, oh, well, we might get left out of this thing. Now, a lot of the feeling around Ohio State is that through the 4 games, everybody on the committees felt like they're one of the best 4 teams in the country. So maybe they don't need those 2 games, and they don't need a championship game to get in. Maybe that'll happen for Ohio State. But, again, that'll just put the committee in quite a pickle in picking it.
Here's the quote from Barry Alvarez. Yeah, we meet weekly. I would think that if something would happen to Ohio State and they'd have to cancel another game, Michigan, by the way, and their game with Maryland has been canceled this week. They'd have to cancel another game. That's something we've got to revisit. They're sitting up there ranked number 4. Our league can't keep them from having the opportunity if they have a chance to be in the finals. Craig?
I get real sick and tired of hearing from Barry Alvarez constantly, or at least what feels like constantly. I know he's a big power player in college football, but typically when I hear from Barry Alvarez, it's never anything all that great. It's always like something like this, right, or some playoff. Like, I mean, I remember hearing his name constantly when Baylor was involved in the playoff rankings. If you'll remember, there was he's chiming in on that, but I guess they're just trying to cover their own backside, and I don't really know how to feel about that one way or the other, quite frankly. I mean, I kind of find it humorous that they're in this position because they put themselves in this position. I also kind of get annoyed by the fact that all of a sudden they're going to magically have the capability to change the rules when they were so adamant about not changing anything early on. But now that they're in a position of benefit, much like all the people walking this earth who are so hypocritical for, it's not cool when you do it, but when I do it, it's okay. And so, yeah, I mean, backtracking a little bit to try to cover your own butt or try to get a benefit for what you've got going on is not surprising. That's human reaction, I guess.
And they all in the Big Ten, other than Ohio State and Ryan Day, tried to basically shove a pipe down Nebraska's throat when they wanted to play that extra game or a non-conference game or play any game. And now if you were the Big Ten and you had left that open, then Ohio State could play somebody, as long as they're not the ones struggling with COVID, which they have been. But Gary Barta, who's the AD at Iowa, we spent this summer talking about the possibility when it comes to discrepancy number of games. Then we spent time last week talking about it specifically as we were evaluating games. We don't have a set number. It's a challenge and a problem to evaluate a team that's played 3 games side by side with someone who's played 9. We're doing it, though. It's doable, but it clearly becomes one of the pieces to the puzzle. If, in fact, it's Ohio State without that extra data point, or if they don't play in the conference championship game, we know the answer to this. It would be almost like wasting our time trying to say, well, that's not fair, because we understand what's going on here. 254-339-1122, your thoughts about it. 254-339-1122, your thoughts about that as well. Plus, again, the game between Baylor and Oklahoma coming up on Saturday. J.D. Richards played last night. We had the story late in the show. What a story. Alex Olson, who's head of, not just the trainer, but head of medicine and all that for women's basketball, will join us today at 4:15 to discuss some of the behind-the-scenes parts of that miracle of her playing. And she looked like J.D. Richards.
Yeah, she did. It's a great story. I think it's fantastic that she's been able to return as quickly as she's been able to. And just glad that she was able to go out there and play to the highest level that she's able to play at right now, which is still higher than a lot of other people. So yeah, very good for women's basketball, very good for the Lady Bears program, and obviously fantastic for J.D. and her family that she's able to get back there, because we didn't know. Like a week ago when that was going to happen.
I was kind of amazed that I thought, okay, she's going to be activated for the game and they'll get her out there for like 15, 16 minutes. She played 30 minutes last night, so it wasn't.
Well, they needed.
Yeah, they needed
her on the court because Alyssa Smith was really struggling and Queen Egbo was huge. Obviously, so was Trinity Oliver, but they needed every minute from her, didn't they?
Yeah, but even they needed to. But it's funny to me how Dee Dee's, She's 0 to 60. It wasn't like she's going to come back and work her way back. She's going to come back and it's going to be like she never left.
Well, and that's what Kim Mulkey said after the game, and J.D. as well. She's been practicing on and off, has been practicing since when we heard the story. It was 2 weeks ago that she jumped into a defensive drill. It was about 2 weeks ago, and then she's been practicing, and Kim Mulkey mentioned that she's basically been practicing. There was no concern. Kim doesn't make the decision to clear her. That's up to Alex Olson and, of course, the trainers and doctors. And so last night, a little bit, I guess, before 6 o'clock, it came out that she was she's cleared to play in the game. And she was, in fact, stirred the pot. She had the assist. She had the steal. She had the emotion. And here's J.D. Richards following the game. Alex Olson with more behind the scenes on J.D. Here's J.D. Richards following the game last night in a very tight win in Tampa against the University of South Florida. J.D., you've discussed the emotions. It was today any different than the other range of emotions you've had, because it actually means you're fully back to being able to play the game?
Today it kind of sank. Like, it's kind of hitting me now that I was out for 38 days, or I wasn't really playing, or not really out 38 days. I've been practicing for a couple weeks, but it was exciting to play a game again, because I haven't played since March, if you think about it. So it was just exciting to be back on the court with my teammates and with my coaches and getting a win for sure.
All right, Michelle, you're up.
Michelle Vopel from ESPN.com. J.D., congrats on being back. 2 questions quickly. One, from a fitness standpoint, you look very good out there. I wonder how you felt. And did Did you have a little bit of a laugh? I know you seem kind of ticked off, but did you have a little bit of a laugh? You picked up a technical in your first game back?
I definitely was very tired. I was winded. Number one, I think her name is Maria, a great player. And, usually my number is called when people get hot to go guard that person. I'm like, I don't know if I got it in my tank right now, Coach Bogey. I don't know if I can get over those screens. So it was funny to see that I was the one kind of being winded and tapping on my chest like, okay, give me some drink, or every free throw I was trying to rush over there and grab a swig of Gatorade. But it was so funny. I think I spoke it into existence. We were in the training room a couple days ago, and I'm like, it was after the Central Arkansas game, and I realized how quiet it was. I'm like, y'all, when I start playing, I'm going to get a tech because it's too quiet in that gym, and I'm loud. And so go figure. I go get a tech today, and I'm like, and as soon as I get on the bench, Sarah Andrews is like, wow, hell of a game, Dee. First tech. And I'm like, yeah, it's to be expected.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's Dee Richards. A couple of the questions in her comments after the game. And yes, she's emotional. She also is someone that talks a lot. And Kim asked the official about what did she say, and he said, well, and there's nobody there. You can hear the PA guy. They don't even need the speaker system. He could just talk, And obviously everything that's said, whether you're a coach or a player, can be heard because there's nothing there. Speaking of nothing there, no one there, West Virginia's announced that in the month of December, they'll have no fans in their basketball stands. Baylor women play West Virginia. Like in the middle of December, the men don't play till later in the year, early in like February or whenever in February. So that does affect that game, and there's that with that as well. 7-6 Baltimore, by the way, leads Pittsburgh. They had a pick of Roethlisberger, and Edwards scored a touchdown, so they're up 7-6 in RG3's opening start with the Ravens.
Yeah, RG3 threw a pick six earlier that led to the points for the Steelers. But big Gus Edwards, let's keep doing it. I need him.
That's a fantasy thing here?
Yes, I need him. I've always been. You hear me talk about Gus Edwards all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always
big
talking
Gus
about
Edwards guy.
This is the first time I've heard his name on this show, honestly, at all. 254-339-1122, that's the number. Daniel, I'm sorry, but the committee should come out and say that the minimum number of games should be 7 and stick with it. Yeah, that won't happen, but that's what should happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because there's all these cancellations. It's like so hard to plan for, what people are going to be able to do. I'm not real keen on the idea of the Big Ten getting the benefit of the doubt, especially when they were the ones that wanted to torpedo the entire season to begin with. I don't think any room should be given to any Big Ten school or any Pac-12 school if they're in the mix for it, because you are the ones that didn't want this to happen from the very beginning. So I don't feel sorry for the Big Ten if a cancellation somehow screws them over. That's the situation they put themselves into. I don't like Barry Alvarez. Every time the Big Ten's involved in something, here he comes to throw his weight around and, power bully the other people in the room because he's Barry Alvarez. I don't like seeing his name pop up because that just means that there's politicking going on in the Big Ten. And, it's unfortunate for Ohio State, potentially, but I doubt that it will be unfortunate because that's Ohio State, and they'll get the benefit of the doubt when all is said and done. They will play 4 games, win those 4 or 5, and they will be in the playoff because that's how college athletics works. It's all about the dollar. You think they're going to bend over backwards to try and, give the benefit of the doubt to a smaller school like Cincinnati, or are they going to go for the sure money thing in Ohio State, who played half the games? They're going to go for Ohio State because that's what college athletics does.
And that could be over even A&M or Florida. Gary Barta, as I mentioned on the show earlier, the firepower and the explosiveness of Justin Fields and Master Teague and Garrett Wilson, all of those offensive weapons, the fact that they did beat the number 12 team the last time they played, it was discussed that they played 4 and A&M has played 7. That was certainly discussed. When it comes to A&M, the defense is what the committee sees most impressed with when it watches A&M. They have a heck of a defense. They beat number 6 Florida, lost to Alabama. The committee continues to keep an eye on A&M's offense. That game against LSU, there you go. They kind of gave them an opportunity. When those two teams are put side by side this morning, last night, there wasn't enough there to put A&M ahead of Ohio State. Great discussion, but Ohio State at number 4. There's that eye test.
I, too, was really impressed with the eye test of Justin Fields' 3 interceptions a week and a half ago in the Buckeyes last play. That was an incredible eye test to witness, and I think Justin Fields is an incredible quarterback, but if you're talking about eye test 10 days after he threw 3 picks and and had a miserable game, then I know you're not really speaking truthfully. And look, I agree. Ohio State's super explosive. All those guys that he mentioned, Garrett Wilson's from Austin. There's no doubt, like in a normal season, they're one of the top 4 teams in the country. So that's why, like them as an example, I can understand if you want to see them in the playoff and you'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But they wouldn't do that for TCU. They wouldn't do that for Baylor. They wouldn't do that unless Ohio State or Michigan are involved, or Texas or Oklahoma are involved.
Sure.
And that's just what drives me nuts.
All right, one quick high school note. Rook Brown of Salado, we watched him play when they played Connolly, has changed his commitment from UL Monroe. He committed last night to Wyoming, the Cowboys. We'll have a note about Elvis Andrus in a minute. Also, a couple of notes about the standings when it comes to who jumped and how high based on who they beat, who was no good, who are no good. At 254-339-1122.
Yeah, Connolly offensive lineman Cody Kaufman also committed to UMHB this afternoon.
Good for him.
So
right,
Cody Kaufman of Connolly,
number 79,
to the Crusaders.
One of my favorite interviews this year, by the way, Cody Kaufman. Matt in D.C., you are on the Impact Health Labs color line on Sic'Em365 radio.
Guys, how's it going?
Going great.
I just want a couple comments. On the committee, they're always going to put in who they want to put in. It's no shock that Ohio State's going to be at 4. I mean, if you look at the standings now, those 4 teams are exactly who they want in. Mm-hmm. Okay? Even if I think that's who's going to get in, even if Clemson loses to Notre Dame, that's who they want in. And with Ohio State, if they win 4 games, they're going to get put in. They do not want A&M in there. They want those 4 teams. However, I wouldn't mind seeing A&M get in, so then you have an entire playoff full of just teams from 2 conferences if that leads to further expansion in the future. That being said, on the committee, last night a great movie came on, Blue Chips, which I completely forgot the greatness of, and I thought the movie had just been shot last year with Rick Pitino, tractors getting paid to players, and all the just all the nonsense of college basketball. And luckily we get to watch the Bears finally play tonight on TV. But I love that movie just because it just seems like it was shot last year, and nothing has changed since 1994 when that movie is shot. And I think we should just all appreciate the greatness of Blue Chips. You guys have a good day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the call. Thank you. Baylor in Illinois. We'll have Ashley Hodge from Indianapolis. He'll join us today at 4 o'clock with more on that game.
By the way, his point is that the NCAA has not changed. Like, no matter what they've done, death penalty to SMU, anything they've done to anybody, what has changed? All they've done is eliminate that specific way of cheating. They've just found other ways to cheat.
Yeah, on the football side of things, I mean, I think he's right. I think those are the 4 teams the committee wants in. And we know how the committee works. This is how they do it. They position it the way that they want, and then they come up with, like, silly terms for why they have it this way this week, and they massage it with whatever terms they need to until they get the teams that they want ultimately. And I think they've got the 4 position right now, just a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, if A&M were to get in, and it's just the ACC basically versus the SEC, because Notre Dame you would consider an ACC team this year, then yeah, maybe that does lead to expansion. I do think that there needs to be expansion, or I'm in favor of that at least, even if it's only 2 more teams and you do like the bye for the first 2 teams. But I do think there needs to be more than 4. I think this whole 1 Power 5 conference or 2 even get left out every single year. I don't think that's a playoff. It's like, would you leave, as bad as they are, the NFC still deserves to have their champion in the playoff.
Based on the rules, yes.
Based on the rules. Right. And so if you won the Big 12, I think you deserve to be in, even if it's with 3 losses or with whatever.
If the Big 10 doesn't get somebody in, there will be hell to pay.
Then so let's all root against Ohio State getting in, even though they would be the more entertaining team to watch than anybody else that's an option, including A&M, Florida, Cincinnati. I mean, all those teams would be fine.
And these powers, these conferences and divisions in pro sports, it's cyclical. Now, the SEC's been good for a long, long time, but it is cyclical.
Right.
And so whatever's now doesn't mean it will be that way in 5 years, or whatever is now wasn't that way 5 years ago. The NFC used to win Super Bowls almost annually. And now, of course, they're in a rough spot. So that's all cyclical. 7-6 now, Baltimore, as they've just started the second quarter against Pittsburgh, and that game going on because of all the COVID delays.
And Blue Chips was a goofy movie in some ways, but it was accurate. It was poking light at accuracies. And, yeah, it's been 25 years and nothing at all has changed. I mean, Shaq, there's been multiple Shaqs since that movie was shot. There's been multiple country boys getting tractors for dad and all sorts of, things like that. That continues on. And as much as it gets uncovered, it still continues on.
All right, back to the lines on the 254-339-1122 number is available right now. I'd love to get your feedback.
Statman, you're on the Impact Health Labs caller line on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Good afternoon, Smokey, Paul, and Craig. I know we're near the end of Baylor football season and beginning Baylor men's women's basketball, but Baylor Athletics today announced that Linka Brusova, who was an All-American tennis player for Baylor women's tennis, is returning to her alma mater as the new associate head coach, working with Joey Scrivano and Baylor women's tennis. So I just wanted to pass that along to the Sic'Em365 radio listening audience.
Well, we got Scotty B, the Baylor King, and now Scott, thanks, Statman, mentioned she had 154 singles wins in her career at Baylor and 120 doubles victories at Baylor, spent 6.5 years at Tulsa as their associate head coach, and now she's a part of that Joey Scrivano staff and tennis as well. A couple of things on the college football playoff that I did notice. Georgia moved up one by beating South Carolina.
Well, I mean,
Oklahoma State jumped 8 spots, beating Texas Tech.
Well, when you beat programs that at certain times in their history were tough outs, I mean, not this year, but there's got to be some kind of math that the committee uses because it's different. Like, maybe R.C. Slocum said, look, Texas Tech used to give me fits. And
Brigham Young just sat there basically. Of course, they're going to get them close. Cincinnati's lucky enough to be number 7, but that's just far enough away to where we can make it look like we care, right?
I'm surprised. BYU should do what they do best and just go knock on doors.
Well, there was the Washington game that seemed like it was available, and that did not work out. And I'm not trying to we don't know all the stories. We just know sometimes what we see or read.
BYU and Cincinnati deserve real consideration for this. Not like, let's do that. I mean, they deserve real consideration.
Yeah, but, SMU deserved it at times. And
Houston's had it at times.
By the way,
different years.
Houston SMU's been
Boise
canceled
State,
again.
Yeah.
That just came down a little while ago.
It was again?
Yeah. Houston SMU's been canceled again as of like 30 minutes ago. By the way, thank you for the women's tennis note, too. That is cool, coming back around 7 years away and then, coming back and rejoining. That's just got to be like a really neat homecoming, I would think. So, Statman, appreciate you passing that along. But, it's another cancellation from what I last saw, that Houston SMU game. But, yeah, every year, there's a team or two that gets considered, and I do think that BYU deserves a lot more consideration than they're getting, but we know how that goes. They're not going to get it, and doesn't matter if they run the table, if it's them, Boise State, SMU, U of H, Tulsa.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who it is.
There was that one Houston team that opened up with a win against Oklahoma, and then they faded into oblivion.
Herman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. D. Carter, 299. I've never heard Craig preach this hard. This is in the Willis Law Firm chat room in the premium section. He's dead on point with respect to the committee's approach to manipulation of data to fit their desired outcome.
Yeah, remember game control? When's the last time we heard about that? When it was a big
important.
deal in year one, and we haven't heard it, I don't think, since year one. And then there was some other term and all that. But no, I appreciate that. I hate hypocrisy, and I hate when I see something being massaged when it's so glaringly clear that that's what's occurring. So we can talk about SMU and TCU and Baylor and Tulsa and all these schools that aren't Alabama or Auburn. Why are we wasting our breath on it? We know what the deal is. We know the blue bloods get the blue blood treatment, and that's why when the top 4 are, I don't think they want to go past 4, because then they would have to actually let those teams in. Then they'd run out of reasons to keep out the SMUs or the Baylors or the Coastal Carolinas or the Cincinnatis, and I almost think that they don't want that for that very reason.
Bruce Feldman just put up an interesting tweet on about his story on theathletic.com. Texas brass is prepared to move on from Tom Herman, we're told. Of course, then it's about Urban Meyer, who he works with on Saturdays. He's in the studio at times with Urban Meyer. There's a story about that. Also, if you did not see this, if you're a Southwest Conference historian, if you are a part of a fan base or you went to any of those schools that were a part of the old Southwest Conference, on ESPN.com, and I believe it was on the front page earlier today, I don't wish either of them well. The demise of the Southwest Conference 25 years later. Some great back behind the scenes stuff. Maybe even you think you knew all about it. There's a lot there, no question about it.
By the way, the Houston SMU game, apparently it's an issue involving the SMU quarterbacks, which is the reason for why they've had to cancel that game.
This is from Diane on the text line. Heather Denich will be out there explaining why whatever the committee does is the right thing to do.
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
No, there's no question. That's kind of like almost like if you're a spokesperson for anyone, whether it's a politician or anyone.
It's funny though because she's very nice from what I've experienced, and she was nice enough to be a guest on an old show like a couple times, and she was fine. She was energetic and all that, but that's my judgment on her as a person, or my feelings on her as a person. But like as far as the professional side of it and what she actually had to say and what she was trying to explain, yes, she is a mouthpiece. I mean, plain and simple, she is a PR mouthpiece for the committee itself. And if you are looking for any criticism of what the committee's doing, or if you are looking for any sort of real insight beyond, the obvious, I don't think that's where you're going to get it, because that's very much a PR tool. No offense to her whatsoever.
All right, when we come back, we'll take more of your calls and also the text line and chat room. Text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. The chat room, Willis Law Firm, by the way, just saying hi to David Willis, who has had a recent procedure, had some knee surgery. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, because it's just not. He's a great sponsor of ours. So
he just texted me. He minds.
Huh?
He just texted me and he minds that you said
that.
Yeah,
he does mind. Thinking about him as well. He's a huge Baylor fan. When we come back, 254-339-1122. What would you do or say if you were on the college football playoff committee? Your thoughts about J.D. Richards being able to, 38 days later, playing a game after the collision with Moon Ursin. And Pittsburgh just took the lead, right, Craig? 9-7 over Baltimore.
With a goal line stand, though. I don't know if it was a true goal line stand like from the 1 yard line, but they did have it inside the 5, and Baltimore was able to get the stop. So Pittsburgh kicks the field goal. RG3 gets the ball back down 9-7.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson dropped a probable touchdown.
254-339-1122. That's the text. That's the call. And this is Sic'Em365 Radio. IdealMRI.com. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff have done an amazing job of helping you save money, spend less money on an MRI. How does he do it? How do they do it? Well, first, their MRIs are $497 or less every single time. The average MRI can cost $1,100. That means there are many that are above. In some cases, I remember a couple of times when I walked in to have an MRI at a hospital, and I was like, wow, what? Because, you're thinking about copay, or maybe you pay it out, whatever, because it can be in the thousands. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace, $497 or less every single time. What do they do? Just like anyone else, as far as when it comes to an MRI, they have the machine that's state-of-the-art technology. I have been in it. Had my left shoulder looked at. Also went through the procedure, not the procedure, but went through the, the protocol of having the appointment set up. There to check in. Time, it's just, I can't tell you how easy and smooth it was. And they're the title sponsor of Sic'Em365 Radio, which launched on April the 6th. I went through there. I went through the talking to the Texan specialist before the MRI, went inside the machine, which at times for me has been a little bit spooky. No problems. It was fantastic. They did whatever they could to make me comfortable. And then Dr. Maxey called me that evening and said, hey, this is what we see in your shoulder. And then also, I was able to send that on to Dr. David Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, so he could look at it, because he's the one that fixed my rotator cuff on my right shoulder. They're fantastic people, save money. It's so easy to be a part of it, and it's right here in the Central Texas marketplace in Waco, just off I-35 and Loop 340, IdealMRI.com.
When it comes to value and great customer service, you can count on us. Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. As a Customer First Award of Excellence winner, our customers always receive exceptional service, and during the Big Finish event, you save thousands on every car, truck, and SUV. Plus, most vehicles feature 0% financing. The Big Finish event. Now at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'Em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Hey, we're going to have a Baylor football player audio here in just a second. Jack, thank you very much. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. Craig and Paul, David Smoke, Sic'Em365 Radio. Tim Hicks yesterday sent me this. When Charlie Brewer on Monday was named the Big 12 Player of the Week, he said, nice honor for a guy that can't throw the ball down the field, always late, can't run. I go on and on, but I'm sure you get the point. Thanks for all your work. From Tim Hicks on Charlie Brewer winning the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Now, Abram Smith was the one who had to come in and fill in for Terrell Bernard after he take over when he got hurt in that game at Iowa State. He was asked, I had a chance to visit with him along with everybody else, but the question I've wanted to ask since Dave Aranda mentioned this to me on Monday, that one of the things he wishes he could have done better is how the offense and defense are separated so much, not in the normal way. I mean, they are in sometimes separate locker rooms, separate areas. They're constantly trying to, of course, space as much as they can. So I asked him about how hard that has been, and are they just starting to have maybe a little bit of that where they're on the same page?
I do, actually. I feel like we're coming after you kind of said stuff. After you said that, you kind of feel the team kind of just grow together. We've been growing this whole time, so you feel it kind of getting closer and closer to actually being, like, fully complete. So putting the offense and defense together, a little bit more would have helped, but at the same time, though, we grew together either way.
All right, so that's Abram Smith. Is there another comment from him? This is Abram Smith, and what's this about, Paul?
This is now I've gone blank. I asked him about the rhythm that they had gotten in through practicing, week after week now, which they didn't get to do that for a good long while.
I think it's a good thing, just being able to just go straight through, no interruptions, like you said. I mean, your body's got to get used to all the work again. You didn't have a spring, so your body's not used to really all the pounding and all the hitting. So this whole little week through, I feel like it's really good.
All right, that's linebacker Abram Smith on one. The fact that the offense and defense have been separated so much because of COVID and because of basically the way things have gone. And then the fact also then that you're getting more and more reps. You're actually getting practice. Now, I tell you what, I got to tell you, this is one of my thoughts. Craig and Paul, 254-339-1122. Cody Crane, the head coach at Cattle Mills, today at 3:45. Alex Olson, looking forward to that. The Baylor head of medicine for Baylor women's basketball and the J.D. Richards recovery and some of the background stories. At the end of the first half on Saturday, I sat there and I was like, we keep hearing about how practices were pretty good, and we have not always seen it transition into Saturday. Sometime, like the first half against Iowa State, you did. Some of what you saw at Texas Tech did, but not everything. And I was like, what? How come they're not better? And then, of course, the explosive second half that helped, although the defense was gutted a little bit. Isn't that one of the things that you've wondered, and that did you get anything answered? And did what Abram Smith just say make any difference at all to you and how you feel about why can't they take it from Monday, Wednesday, whatever, into Saturday?
No disrespect to him, but no, because we've heard every player say similar things. We've heard every coach say similar things. Like, here's the hard part for us and for the team as well is, it's kind of saying the same things over and over and over again at this point. And it's like, those are the reasons, and the reasons aren't changing or haven't changed. But it's just like when you've heard it for 3 months in a row, it's kind of like it loses its effect. And so we all get it. We all are very understanding of why they weren't better out of the gates. But even having said that, and I know there's been interruptions still throughout the season, that first half was inexcusable. Like how just dead they came out, flat, bad they came out. I mean, I was thinking, actually the thought that ran through my mind was we were talking about rock bottom last week, and I'd said that I didn't feel like they had hit rock bottom because there was still, room to go down, and I felt like maybe they were hitting rock bottom in the first half. That's how bad it was. The defense made some stops and kept that game within reach, and so as bad as the defense may have played at times in the second half, and certainly they did the whole complimentary football thing where Baylor ended up winning because of complimentary football, but they also were losing a majority of the game because they weren't playing complimentary football. And so the defense, made the stops eventually when they needed to, but they were the reason also why they were having to come out and dig out of that hole in the second half, because every time Baylor would score, the defense gave up a touchdown right afterwards. But, it's understandable. Those are the reasons why. But that first half still, that was just so bad.
That was TCU first half, except the score wasn't quite as bad, although it wasn't that great. One of the things that when you're average, when you're not, when you look at the record and you're at the time 1-5, you're now 2-5. When you look at that, your offense might come out and play well for the first half, and then the defense gives up big plays, or in the second half. You might have both offense and defense playing well, but you might have a punt blocked, or you might have a field goal blocked, or a bot snapped, or you might give up a punt return. And that's the frustrating part in how you try to piece it all together.
And that's what was happening in the first half. I mean, special teams was not good. And, that's an area where I think that's probably also been affected by just the lack of spring ball and things like that. But, at this point, you would just expect guys to kind of know what to do. Like, there's some times where, there's a punt that you're just like, did they intend for him to, short that? Or did they want him to boom that out of the back of the end zone? There's just little things here and there, even on kickoff where everything's going well, they score, and then give up a 45-yard return. It's just out of joint, and And eventually they got it all together in time to win that game, and it took all three phases to win that game. But all three phases were also responsible for, why they were in that hole, like I said, and also why they've, lost the 5 games that they have this year. You're not good enough, talented enough right now, and especially with what you also have dealt with, to have any of those phases have a bad game. Well, and I think
you can have an off half, but you can't have a bad game.
Right. And I think also, it's one thing when you have a dynamic offense like they had years and years ago, or if you had even like last year with a stifling defense, but as good as the defense can be at times, it's still shown some weaknesses. And so they have to play complementary football because they don't have a unit that's strong enough to lead them to a win solely by itself. I mean, the defense can play lights out, but if the offense can't score, it doesn't really matter. So, when this team plays complementary football, they did on Saturday, they walk away with a win, and that's how they're going to have to do it because they don't have a special teams group or a offensive group or a defensive group that are so good in their own right that they can make up for some of the weaknesses in other areas.
We will talk Baylor, Illinois, number 2 against number 5 tonight in Indianapolis. Ashley Hodge of Sic'Em365.com and radio will be there, and we'll have him today. Big 12 basketball going on today. Texas just exploded past North Carolina in a battle of 2 top 20 teams and lead with 5 minutes to go in the half, 30-20. Tonight, West Virginia, Gonzaga. And then also Iowa State plays South Dakota State. We mentioned Illinois and Baylor as well.
Armstrong Sims, real quick. Which parents went to which schools in this Texas-North Carolina game?
My dad went to UNC, and my mom went to Texas. But I'm a much bigger UNC fan than Texas basketball. I never cared. I never cared about Texas basketball because they're always trash.
Well, when you look at the two, that's like, again.
Know that Texas has won 8 of the last 9 meetings.
Yeah, and they've had teams that have struggled in the end, but they have played North Carolina incredibly well.
Yes. For some reason, North Carolina really struggles against really athletic teams.
Yeah.
Texas always has a really athletic team.
Yeah. Even if they don't, even with some of the struggles they've had, even under Shaka Smart or even whoever. But it'd be a nice win. I just said it's against a name.
Yeah,
North Carolina, no matter what.
Be a good win for either team.
When we come back, Cody Crane, he used to coach at Groesbeck. We had a call last week, remember, from Groesbeck. He said, hey, what about Cody Crane at Cattle Mills? They just knocked off defending state champion Pleasant Grove. Cody Crane's the head coach. We'll hear from him. Also, later on, Jason Lavorne, who's the head coach at First Baptist Academy out of Dallas, playing Riker this week, former Baylor walk-on quarterback, Jay Sedgwick's cousin. Also, he is the brother-in-law of, he's on the Oral Roberts basketball staff with Paul Mills. I just went blank with his name. Sam Patterson.
Okay.
So all sorts of tie-ins. That's today as well. And Alex Olson on the J.D. Richards recovery coming up as well at 4:15. This is Sic'Em365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. The Christmas savings event is going on right now, and they've got thousands of dollars in savings that can be yours just in time for the holidays with the holiday sales event. The most wonderful time of year. Well, we have arrived in the most wonderful time of year. It's time to give out some presents, give out some gifts, make loved ones happy. And, man, talk about making somebody happy. How about a brand new car and making you happy and making that purchase? How about getting thousands of dollars off while purchasing that car for a loved one? And there's a variety of vehicles that Richard Carr has thousands off on right now. How about 2021 GMC Sierras? Power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. Right now, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. It's the best truck on the road. And again, you can save $8,000 during Richard Carr's holiday savings event. Maybe you're looking for a midsize SUV. Right now, save $7,000 off of GMC Terrain. Save $7,500 off of Buick Envision. So you can test drive both and save big on both today at Richard Carr. How about a 2020 Buick Encore, a compact SUV? It's got loads of space and style. Right now, it can be yours for only $18,950, less than $20K, and that's over $5,000 in savings on the top-selling Buick Encore. And you can also even, get a little, glitzier, a little more glamour with the Cadillac line, the historic Cadillac line. Well, the ultimate gift this Christmas at Richard Carr is a Cadillac. You can save $3,000 right now and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, the XT5, and the XT6. So let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or office, and again, thousands in savings. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all of these valuable community heroes will get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco, so you get yourself a great deal and also give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's a holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Say big. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
Cody Crane, head football coach at Cattle Mills. The Fox is one of the great stories in high school football in Texas, and there's always some good ones, but this is really a very unique story. Cody Crane now in his second year with Cattle Mills. He was at Groesbeck, and he joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. What is it like right now in Cattle Mills, Texas?
It's a pretty neat time. First time we've ever played December football, and so the town is electric. Kids are energized. It's really neat.
You know, you weren't at Groesbeck long, but one of the things that was interesting, and you don't know this, is we got a call on our show last week from Bruce in Groesbeck, and he was like, hey, don't forget about what Cody Crane's doing at Cattle Mills. And it's not like you had a big imprint there. You were there a short amount of time, but how does that make you feel when a place you have been was excited about what you're able to do where you are now?
I think that's really neat, and I hope, I hope we left it better than we found it. There was great people there. Still have outstanding relationships with a lot of people. that are from, that live in Groesbeck. And yes, obviously, yes, that makes us feel really good.
What was it like to be the defending champion, a team that's been in multiple state championships? We know what Coach Gibson's got. Pleasant Grove has been amazing, and you got them.
Well, that's a point where we're trying to get our program is to that level. He does a great job, obviously, has great kids. And it was felt like we needed to pinch ourselves. Is this a dream or what? Because, we knew, we believed, but to actually go out and get it done was a awful neat experience. Friday afternoon after Thanksgiving, it was pretty awesome.
So, you beat them, and we do know what the standard that they've set. And now you turn around and you beat Pleasant Grove, and now here comes Gilmer. We know their history, tradition. They've had a coaching change, of course, and Coach Metzel and what he's done there. And they beat Pleasant Grove earlier this year. I guess if you're going to win in 4A, or really any of those under classifications I call, even sometimes 5 or 6A, but in 4A and 3A, you're going to have to go through those type of teams, whether it's Carthage or Gilmer or Pleasant Grove or whoever. It's kind of a sledgehammer, isn't it, Cody?
Absolutely. And in the state of Texas, there are so many good, high-quality football programs, and 4A is no exception. 4A Division II is no exception. We knew whenever we saw a region that it was going to be extremely tough. We knew that there are teams that could legitimately win the state championship, and whoever comes out of this region will have an opportunity to do that. So, yes, it is a grind, but we knew it going in, and I think our kids are focused and know what has to be done and are proud of their accomplishments up to this point as well.
You closed out your non-district schedule beating Aubrey, and, of course, they're 11-2, and you beat them pretty good. Your first 3 games, and it's just me from the history of high school football, it wasn't as if that was a very difficult schedule, although this year everything's difficult with the crazy of 2020 and COVID. Was that the win where your kids maybe started to believe a little bit?
I think so. I really do. And we got lucky to play Aubrey, whenever that was scheduled. That was a late schedule, that we added. But, they run the wing tee, and we have, 2 schools that run the wing tee in our district. And so really the physical nature of football and gave us confidence defensively as well. That we could go stop a heavy run football team. And it was a great win that set us up as we move forward through district play.
So I thought you really kind of raised your eyes. You beat Sunnyvale a couple of weeks later, and John Settle, they got kind of a late start, but I know John from his years at Dangerfield and what he's done at Brownsboro and then Sunnyvale. But the game that I think maybe caught a lot of people's attention, Cody, was not just what you did this past Friday, but the win against Van, because they can be very dicey as well. And you won that game, and you're scoring a ton of points. Was there a turning point? Was there a moment in a game that maybe also kick-started what you've done so far to get to 12-0?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with halftime at Sunnyvale. We were down at that point, and I hadn't scored many points offensively. And we stopped them before we went off the field and said, hey, listen, we're going to go to the locker room and we're going to refocus. We get the ball coming out of halftime, and offensively, we are putting up 50 points a game. So we're going to get it figured out. We're going to make some adjustments, and we're going to roll. And then that second half of Sunnyvale, after we were down, we hadn't beat Sunnyvale in forever. They're a rival. And to come back and win, beat them in the second half of that football game, I felt like that, the Aubrey followed by that is, wow, that's a turning point. And then we get into the playoffs. And like you said, Van, I have a lot of respect for their program. It's been around, consistent. They're very good. We played our playoff game there last year and used their facilities, and I got to look at all the stuff that they had on the walls and the outstanding players and teams that they've had over the years, and I have a lot of respect for them. And their kids have the mindset that they're supposed to win. And, whenever we went there and we won that football game, I felt like now we really have a chance in this region if the ball bounces our way, maybe.
You have a quarterback in Tyler Townley who's putting up massive numbers, nearly 4,000 yards of offense. He's a dual-threat guy. Obviously, Bean, Davis, Neal, your running back. You have other weapons. The offensive line has to be giving him time and also openings as well. How good and how much fun is Tyler Townley? What kind of football player is he?
He's the best I've ever coached. He is phenomenal. The thing, he has it, whatever it is. He has the it factor, and he is so smart. His IQ is off of the charts. Whenever he comes in Monday morning, he's already watched all the films. He knows what we need to do. He's right in tune with our game plans. He is absolutely phenomenal. And, why every college in the nation isn't after him is mind-boggling, because Pleasant Grove had, multiple Division I athletes on the field, and he made play after play after play and just put our football team on his back. We got the ball back with, I think it was 2 minutes and 16 seconds right after they just scored. We had one timeout against the defending state champions, and he put us on his back and drove us down to score with 16 seconds left to win that football game, and it is phenomenal.
Steve Summerall had a great run at your program at Cattle Mills, had a really, really good run. And, in fact, there was 3 years, 07, 8, 9, 33, and 6, made some deep runs. Is it that time where you start to paint the windows and downtown is crazy and everyone's just eaten up with the foxes in football right now?
It is. This is the first time. And, yes, they had a great run back in the mid-2000s. And Harold Jeffrey was the running back. Went and played at UTEP. Isn't that correct?
Yeah,
and was an outstanding football player. But and we always want to celebrate our past here. Whenever we got here, we went and got a sign made about all of the playoff experience that our programs had since 1932, and that's in our locker room, and our kids look at it every single day, and they knew. We're one of very few to be undefeated, one of very few to win the district championship, one of 4 to play in the 3rd round, and we'll be the first ever to play in December, play in the 4th round. There's never been a snap of football in Cattle Mills in the history of the town in December, and we'll be able to do it this week.
Cody Crane, head coach at Cattle Mills, quarterfinals against Gilmer in 4A Division II on Sic'Em 365 Radio.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Man, I'm excited after 10 days of refereeing fights at home. I can't wait to be back here, that's for sure.
Are you a Sic'Em 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sic'Em365.com. Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, this hour we are loaded up. Next segment, Alex Olson, Director of Medicine, Baylor women's basketball, and the comeback, and J.D. Richards, who played last night. But tonight it is number 2 Baylor and number 5 Illinois, Indianapolis. And our Ashley Hodge, Sic'Em 365 Radio in Indianapolis, is snuggled in, ready to go. And, of course, he's a basketball junkie. Ashley, how excited. This is a great one. We're watching part of Texas, North Carolina. UT has a nice lead at halftime. But let's discuss Baylor and Illinois and the test for either one of these teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. Obviously, the best backcourts in the nation. There's going to be a lot of pressure defense being played. Two of the better defensive teams. And you're going to see two of the front runners for National Player of the Year, and Ayo Dosunmu for Illinois, and then, of course, Jared Butler for Baylor.
Ashley, after the first couple of games, what's your read on where they are versus where you thought they'd be? Are they right where they thought they'd be, or maybe a little bit ahead?
Oh, they're right where I thought they would be. I mean, I think you're seeing it with Texas. When you return a lot of experience, especially this year where you don't have scrimmages, and, you know, it's just been such a tough year to get new guys acclimated. A lot of the new guys didn't even arrive on campus until later, and it's just a different experience than a typical freshman year. So I think the teams with experience are going to rise to the top, especially early in the year, and you're seeing that with the Texas Longhorns. I think Baylor's certainly one of those teams as well. So it didn't surprise me that they blew out their first two opponents.
Ashley, there's been a lot of talk about, various players. LJ Cryer had a nice night the other night, but JTT, Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, I mean, you talked about it in the offseason, just his presence on the boards, his effort. I think Baylor basketball put out a clip yesterday of just him running full speed down the court. Like he's just got something about him. What do you think the ceiling is for a guy like JTT, and what do you think his impact will be potentially in a game like tonight and moving forward?
Yeah, it could be a big coming out party for him. I think his ceiling is very, very high. I have likened him to Montrezl Harrell, who played at Louisville in college, and then, of course, was a great player for the Clippers, just signed a deal with the Lakers. I think he's that type of player. Like, he's very physical. He plays with passion. He plays full speed all the time. But he's also a guy that's got pretty good hands, good footwork, has a nice touch on his free throws. I think he's got a chance to be an all Big 12 player, maybe sooner than later, and potentially an All-American. I'm very, very bullish on his future.
There was so much build-up to that opening week last week. And then, of course, they found a way to play games in Vegas. But the build-up was for last week. That gets shut down, and now this appears it's going to happen. Thank goodness, because I think it's great for sports. I think it's great for college basketball. It's great for both programs. How much buildup do you feel nationally? Because obviously this game's going to get a bunch of eyeballs on it tonight.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot of eyeballs because there's going to be very few people in the gym. Jason King and I will be two of the only people in the gym that probably have a Baylor rooting interest. I think I've been talking to some of the guys in the lobby. I just saw West Virginia here. They just took off for, they played Gonzaga in the early game. And I talked to the play-by-play radio guy for Gonzaga. It's just such a bizarre year. And he was talking about just the experience of playing in a gym that doesn't have fans. But and that's, again, if you have experienced guys and, you have a good culture, that gives you a leg up, I think, because some of these teams that rely so much on their home court advantage, teams like Kentucky and Kansas, Duke even, that advantage is gone this year. So I think, teams that just have a great culture and a lot of experienced guys are really have a chance to excel.
Okay, who do you like more right now, or who gets you excited when they're coming off the bench, Flagler or Matthew Meyer?
Ooh. I like both of them a lot. I think I trust Flagler more. I mean, just from a consistency standpoint, I think he is a guy that's proven it on D1 level. And, I think his shot is a little bit more pure than Myers is. But I'm huge on Myers' upside. I mean, Flagler's 6'3", Myers 6'9". Myers got the ability to ball on the ground. I think his defense is getting better. He can rebound. I mean, he has a really high ceiling. And if you ask me, the two guys with the highest ceiling on the team, I'd probably say him and Jonathan.
LJ Cryer had a nice night the other night. It's not a guarantee that freshmen are going to see a lot of time in the program the way it's set up right now, Ashley, but it seems like he could very well see a lot of minutes this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in the 9-man rotation. You look at the three you mentioned, Jonathan, Matt Meyer, and Flagler are the first three off the bench. But I think after that, you got to look at Cryer. And I think there's going to be some games like he had in the opener where he just catches fire from 3-point range and hits 4 or 5 threes and really makes a difference in the outcome. And tonight, there may be a big opportunity for him because it's probably going to be a very physical game. Who knows how they call it? If there's some foul trouble, a guy like LJ may be the difference between winning or losing, because when you look at a 4th or 5th guard for most teams in America, you're not looking at a great player. But with Baylor, I mean, you're looking at a pretty dang good player in LJ Cryer. So I think that's the big advantage they have over some other backcourts.
Illinois is 3-0, wins against North Carolina A&T by 62. They should. Chicago, and then they beat Ohio by a couple. Ohio's been a tournament team on occasion, I believe, so that was interesting. Baylor, of course, with the wins against UL, University of Louisiana, and then also hammered Washington as well. Brad Underwood, former Stephen F. Austin coach, he's the one that kind of put them back on the map. Then he goes to Oklahoma State. He's not there very long, and now he's at Illinois. Does he do the up pressure, high intense pressure constantly on your, like he did when he was at SFA?
Yeah. I think, and he did that at Oklahoma State also. So the way it's been described is a pack line defense, which is, more of a, take care of the defensive glass and keep everything in front of you, switch everything. But it's a pressure pack line. So he's kind of taken like Tony Bennett's pack line defense, and he has added, high pressure on the ball. So where they're susceptible is you can get them on some backdoor cuts. If you have a good passing team, you move the ball quick, you can get them out of position. So that's, I think, Baylor was a little shaky against Washington, turning it over at times, and they're going to have to be really strong with the ball and be able to get some backdoor cuts, I think, to really expose this Illinois defense. It's a good defense.
Ashley, you're around the program a lot more than most people. We had Mac Rhodes on yesterday, and I was asking him about Jerome Tang. I mean, we know that Jerome Tang has the goods and that he's going to be a future head coach one day. But what do you see from him on the basis of what you get to see from him and hear about him as well, and just the job that he did in filling in for Scott Drew?
Well, I mean, it's hard to beat 4-0 as a winning percentage.
Yeah.
I challenge you to find a coach that has a better winning percentage in college basketball than that winning percentage. I mean, Jerome's an awesome guy. I mean, I've gotten to know him pretty well over the years. Others focused, always willing to give the credit to players and other people. And I think you need to give him and Alvin Brooks a lot of credit for how good the Baylor defense has been, because those two have been really in charge of the defensive end of things. And, I think his personality and intensity was really shown. Baylor took a big leap, from going to like 82nd defensively 2 years ago to like a top 5 defense. And, certainly I know their goal this year is to be the best defense in college basketball.
Ashley, enjoy. I know that you do find a way to get to where they are, and I know how much you love what they've done. This is a week that is almost Final Four or NCAA tournament-esque, with Illinois 5 and number 1 Gonzaga, number 2 Baylor, West Virginia's there. It's just golly.
Are you going to go to St. Elmo's?
I mean, that's on the table. We've heard of another place that may be a little better that we might try out. But Jason and I went to the Yard House before the game, and we were watching the Texas North Carolina game, and then we're going to head out here pretty soon and go watch West Virginia Gonzaga, of course, and we're going to sneak down as close as they'll let us. But they got the media up pretty high. It's like in the mezzanine level. They want to make sure the media doesn't get too close to the action, but we're going to try to get as close as we can.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you for everything. Ashley Hodge, again, he's up in Indianapolis. Jason King, we had on yesterday or Monday? And then also, of course, our basketball coverage. You can go to Sic'Em365.com tonight and get all sorts of feedback and reaction. And we'll have the post-game audio Zoom session and all that. Amazing what Colt puts up as well. And it ought to be fun. What we have with Ashley, Brian, and Colt, Grayson, what we have here, Armstrong, Jack, Craig, and Paul, what we have with also Drake Toll and what he's been able to bring to the table, J.D. and others. It is so much fun to have all of these just weapons around us. And now we're joined by Alex Olson. What a story this is. Alex Olson is the director of athletic medicine for Baylor women's basketball. Has been at Baylor 22 years since he came back. And he and Dee, there's a picture of them in the plane as they're leaving, about to take off, and what those two have become. They've known each other. Dee, of course, a senior national champion a couple years ago. And then we know all about the collision, Moon Urson, the concussion. And then Dee could not feel below her knees, and she played last night. Moon has come back and played. Alex Olson joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. What did last night mean, in your opinion, just to the family of Baylor women's basketball, that Dee was cleared and then also actually played and played well? And thanks for your time, Alex.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Last night did my heart good just to see Dee out there playing Dee basketball. She's reckless and just plays with a reckless abandon. And when she was out there last night, she did the exact same thing. I mean, I saw her dive into the opponent's bench and, didn't hesitate. And we're just so happy to see Dee back on the court. When she was laying there in that hospital bed at Baylor Scott and White in the emergency room, and the doctors were kind of poking her legs, with this sharp needle-like instrument, asking Dee, can you feel this? And she was upset. She goes, I can't feel anything, and my heart sank. So did hers. And we said, Dee, you're going to be stronger from this. And this is just the start of a great story. It's going to be just a chapter in your book. So hang in there. We'll get through this together. And last night was kind of the closing of that chapter, and it was just awesome to see.
What was your realistic timetable once you knew that there was no structural damage to Dee and when she was going to come back?
Well, Paul, that's a great question. We had 3 different neurological specialists that over the course of the past over a month have seen Dee, and each one kind of gave a different time frame. One was as quickly as about 8 days. One was a much longer time frame, could be up to 6 months. And Dee and her mother were both with us, obviously at this appointment with this neurologist. And Dee's mom asked a question that's, you got to be careful what you ask for because you're not sure what the answer is going to be. And she said, well, Doc, what's the longest you've ever seen somebody come back from this injury? And the answer was, well, sometimes we see people never come back. And that was, you could just see her heart kind of fall and sink. But to Dee's credit, Dee's a fighter. She persevered, and she's like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to work every day, and I'm going to get better. And sure enough, she did.
How was she feeling last night? Just, seeing that game action and just, being physical for the first time in a while. I mean, I know there's practices and things, but just being in game action for the first time, how was she feeling afterwards?
Yeah, Craig, she was amazingly good. I mean, she runs in a typical practice right at about 6 miles, and that's doing anywhere from 100 and 150 sprints over a course of a 2-hour practice. And when Dee runs, she goes about 16 miles per hour. That's her typical sprint speed. And so, we've been monitoring her loads, we call it, over the past several weeks in practices. And those practices are very typical of what she does in a game. And so I was not concerned about that. And sure enough, after the game, she felt great. I saw her a little while ago. She came in for some, recovery work like a lot of our players do. And she was feeling good. So, we're encouraged by that. And, I think she's made a full recovery, and each and every day is a new adventure, but, so far so good.
She plays the game with as much passion as anybody. There's others that play with incredible passion, her personality, the emotions. But she said last night in the postgame that she actually went looking for a pick, that she wanted to run into a pick, that she went looking for contact because she also still needed herself, even though she's been through these practices, which practices for the women's basketball program with how good you are and how deep you are, even though this year the numbers are down a little bit, is probably like playing against anybody in a game. When she did that, is that something that you needed to see as well?
I've seen her take enough hits the past week in practice that I didn't need that. But she had told me that several times that, I just need to take a hard hit. And I've actually got some video footage of her taking some hard hits in practice. And so, I wasn't concerned with that, but I think in a real game, she wanted to see that. And you're right, guys, that our typical practice is as hard or harder than most games we play in just because of the level of talent, but also because Coach Mulkey pulls the most out of each and every player. So when they're out there, on the court, they are giving it their all against each other. They're all competing for a spot. And so, our games are a little bit of a drop-off sometimes compared to our practices.
Where does Dee rank on the line of being a, you want your patients to be determined, but given that, where's your heart attack scale on listen, I appreciate you're determined, but we're not there yet. Dial it back a notch for her.
I've been here a long time, and she's got top 1, 2, maybe 3 players that just play with disregard for her own body. I think of Melissa Jones. I put her in that category as well. That, when you let them go and you let the reins off, you better be ready because they are not going to care for their own body. And Dee is definitely one of those players.
Alex, you mentioned Melissa Jones. You had that situation in Oklahoma. Lauren Cox at the end of the game that at the national championship game in Tampa when she fell and crumbled to the court, which was I was there, and it was, we were there. It was like, wow. You've seen some of these things happen to the Lady Bears. They have had some bad moments when it comes to injuries. Did you ever kind of take from what you learned from those situations at all with Dee and Moon?
I do. Interestingly enough, this terrible injury that Dee just had was actually the second time in my career that I've had this. I had a player when I worked at a high school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that had a very similar injury. And if people know me, those of you that kind of know me, I'm kind of OCD. I'd say I'm OCD, but I'm more CDO because it has to go in the right order. But I have everything kind of lined out just in case there is something like this that happens. You have to have a game plan of how you're going to handle it. And like, for instance, with this high school kid, got to him, he couldn't feel his arms or his legs. And Dee Dee's situation was just her legs, and that's really, really scary. And in this situation with this high school, kind of a rural area, it was a Mansfield High School where I used to work, and we have a lot of potholes in the streets. And so if you're going to have somebody with a spinal cord injury driving in an ambulance over these potholes, that's not a very good thing to do. And so we already had a plan in place. This is my OCD coming out. That I already worked with the paramedics in that city saying, look, if we have a spinal cord injury, we're not going to take an ambulance to get them to the hospital. We're going to care flight them because a flight in a helicopter is going to be less of a problem for a spinal cord. And sure enough, in that situation, it happened. And the kid had a great recovery, just like what Dee Dee did. And when you have Melissa Jones and you go to her and she's like, Alex, I can't see anything out of my eye, then you have a plan in place and you execute it just like players execute plays on the court. And so that's what I do. I kind of think of the worst case scenario and how do you mitigate the risks from that. And that's the way I work.
Alex, you can't see this, but obviously we also have now this stream that we have, the video. This is from Dee Dee. She sent me this note through Kyle Robards. When I asked her about Alex Olsen, throughout the entire process, my thankfulness for Alex could never be put into words. He stayed by side from the time I got to the hospital to yesterday when I checked into the game. He was like my dad away from home through the entire process. With Alex, I had no doubt we were going to figure out the safest, most productive way to get me back on the court. Alex pushed me while making me feel safe at the same time. And on my bad days, I knew I had Alex in my corner. Every accomplishment I had, the entire team would see Alex recording me with a smile on his face. They'd always say, he just looks like a proud dad every time Dee Dee does something. With Alex, I learned to celebrate the little things, and I am forever grateful for the countless hours he devoted to me. And then, of course, she had her prayer picture, like the emoji, Dee Dee Richards.
Wow. That's really the way I approach my job, Smokey, is I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I'm thinking about when she goes off to school and something were to happen to her, I want somebody like me there to help her when she's going through her worst day. And that's my job sometimes here with these 12 players that I have. I talked to Anjanae today, Dee Dee's mom. She called me. She was weeping and just thanking me that I was there for her daughter. And I just told her, I treat Dee Dee as if she is my own daughter. And that's the way I approach all 12 of our players. And that's the only way I know how to do things. And so, there's that saying that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's just the way I do things. And I think people that know me, like Coach Mulkey and our coaching staff, I think they see that every day. And that's the only way I know how to do things.
Did Anjanae call her Dee Dee or just my baby? Because when we had her on the show, that's all she called her.
I've never heard her say Dee Dee. I think it's always my baby. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a personality herself. Craig, you have anything else for Alex?
No, I was going to ask, I guess, Alex, with Moon, I mean, obviously that was not as severe of a situation, but just head injuries and concussions. And can you even begin to explain just the way science has looked at that differently and how that's changed over time, especially here in the last few years, head injuries?
Sure. I think about 5 or 10 years ago, everyone would turn straight to a CT scan and say, okay, is this a concussion or is it not a concussion? And we've actually gotten away from that. Now, we have baseline tests because every person is an individual, and one person may have great balance normally, and one person may have terrible balance. So we do kind of a full range of what are they at a normal time. And so every player here at Baylor goes through a baseline concussion test on a computer, but also what we call clinical, where I'm with them testing their balance, testing their memory. How quickly can they remember certain things? And so I had that data that night after I left the emergency room with Dee. I went over to Moon's apartment and then did this actual test on Moon at her apartment to kind of compare, okay, back in August when you came back from the summer, what are you like now? Obviously there were some differences. And so that's when we placed her in concussion protocol. Now we did go ahead and go through with a CT scan and other things just to be thorough, but we lean more on what is a normal person. And so the time frame we're also learning more recently is that there is no set time frame, and we have to actually kind of test the waters, so to speak. And we put them through different phases of kind of fitness, maybe walking on a treadmill. Does that cause those symptoms to return? If not, let's ratchet it up for the phase 2, and so on through the 5 phases of concussion protocol. And then with each phase, you advance them if there's not a return of symptoms. And so that's kind of what we did with Moon. A lot of times it can be as quickly as maybe 5 to 7 days. With Moon, it was longer, and it was longer just because her symptoms, didn't dissipate as quickly as maybe they could have. But the great thing about working with somebody like Coach Mulkey is there's absolutely no pressure to get Moon, to get Dee, to get Melissa Jones or anyone else we've ever had back quickly. She cares about their health and well-being, and that's a credit to her.
Last thing, Alex, and we do appreciate your time. Alex Olson with us on Sic'Em365 Radio, Director of Athletic Medicine, and he's a staple on that bench as much as anybody else, quite frankly. And she is an emotional, charged, like ever-ready battery, whatever you want to say. That's what Dee Richards is, her personality, her smile, her energy, and she's incredibly good, talented, defensively amazing. Did she even blow you away with what she's done? And was there ever a time when she looked at you or said, I cannot do this?
No, she's never looked at me and said she couldn't do this. And I am blown away. I'm speechless. I'm looking back at my records of the way she's progressed. And, you have an ACL maybe injury that takes 6 months and you see a slow, gradual increase with progression. This was like on steroids. Just the amount of change from day to day was unbelievable. And it was really coming from her determination to get better. I can't explain it any other way. And so I'm just so proud of her and happy for her and just glad I can be there to kind of enjoy this journey with her.
Congratulations on what you meant to her as well. And also the others that have been injured or just have been fortunate not to have to go through that. Alex, I'll never forget in Kansas City, Missouri, I'd come off double pneumonia. Paul and I were up there covering the tournament, and he was out, and I could not breathe. I had to remember that. I had like a relapse or something, and you came to help me. And I'll never forget, you knocked on my door. I don't know what it was, cough syrup, whatever it was. I hope I'm allowed to say this on the air. But I fell asleep, and I felt 3 or 4 hours later like I had never, ever had anything wrong with me. I appreciate you taking care of me that night as well.
Oh, my pleasure, Smokey. Glad I could help.
Thank you. Alex Olson, Director of Medicine, Baylor Women's Basketball. And like 2 or 3 hours after I woke up, I fell back asleep, slept like a baby, and Paul came walking in, and I had a table from room service right in the middle of the
I almost needed Alex too. Yeah. I hurt myself pretty bad.
After that, you couldn't have any more children. And so it was a fantastic, thank you, Alex Olson. Man, that story about Dee Richards, we appreciate that. Coming up next, I didn't know this when we found out we were going to do the Riker game with First Baptist Academy out of Dallas. Their head football coach is Jason LaVorne. He played at Baylor. He ended up playing his last year of football. I think it was at Howard Payne. He is Jay Sedgwick's cousin. I mentioned that. And Sam Patterson of Oral Roberts basketball used to be with Baylor. That's his brother-in-law. His story, and also First Baptist Academy and Riker, that's next on Sic'Em365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. I was in there. My goodness, it was earlier today.
I was in Waco Custom Marketplace earlier today, and they've moved on from Thanksgiving and now ready for the holidays. Ready for whatever you need when it comes to Christmas. And yeah, I know that the family get-togethers are different as far as the numbers who can be there. So if that's the case and you don't need as much, but if you want to get yourself ready to have what you need when it comes to Christmas or New Year's or everything else in between, or if you're having a few people over, although that's going to be limited as well with COVID, office, friends, clients, family, Waco Custom Marketplace can make sure you have what you need when it comes to what you need for them if you're going to have appetizers or a dinner. And if, of course, you're every day what you need, they have kind of a grocery store type atmosphere with all of what they have up and down the aisles, from pasta to box, I guess, dinners, to Rotel tomatoes and chips and much more. Cold beer and wine off to the right when you walk to the front door. And then there's seafood, and there's poultry, and there's also pork, and the butcher shop in the back where you can have custom-made steaks, custom-cut steaks, and the bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day, and much more for you, of course, to enjoy. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425. Not a bad place for gift cards as well, for stocking stuffers. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting, and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Jason Lavorne is the head coach at First Baptist Academy. They play Riker on Saturday, 1 o'clock in Italy. We'll have the game on Sic'Em365 radio and also on 106.7 FM, The Eagle. Jason, I was just reaching out to you to get information about the game. Next thing you know, I see you end an email with Sic'Em Bears, and I then looked, and you went to Baylor, walk-on quarterback under Guy Morris. Sean Bell was there at the time. Blake Zemansky was there at the time. Are you kind of happy? Let's start with this. Are you happy they finally got a win and Charlie Brewer found a way on Saturday night?
Oh, I am. I also didn't mention that my cousin, Jay Sedgwick, is on the team, and he got in there and he got the hold on that final field goal to win the game. So yeah, I'm definitely a big Baylor fan and happy to see the Bears win against K-State.
How cool is that? Because he had not done anything, hadn't been a part of it really, I think, since that first game. And to have, as you know as a coach and as you respect, special teams to me has always meant quite a bit when it comes to you clean, special, you make kicks, you block kicks, you get good coverage, you return a few. The snap, the hold, the kick, the kicker gets all the credit, but sometimes the other two guys, they have to be good too. Or not sometimes, they always have to be good.
They always do, and yeah, they so many times get overlooked, and a lot of times you don't notice them until they make that mistake. So yeah, it was exciting to see him, and exciting to see the Bears finish that game.
You have an interesting career. You were at Baylor as a walk-on. Sean Bell was there, as I mentioned. Blake Zemansky and you went back and forth on the backup quarterback. Then Sean got hurt. Blake was the backup. And you were there. You walked on from where you are now at First Baptist Academy. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was an awesome experience that I really wouldn't trade for anything because didn't really get playing time at Baylor, but I got to experience being a part of a Big 12 Division I football team. But then I also got to experience playing on a Division III football team. So in so many ways as a coach, that has helped me. It's helped me guide my players as they look for playing at the next level and what the best fit for them might be. But then it's also helped me scheme-wise on learning from different offenses, from different coaches. So yeah, it was just a great experience overall for me as a player in college.
You only coached for 1 year before you became the head coach at your alma mater, which sometimes that can be a good thing because people know you, and sometimes that's also where everyone wants to, they know you, so they want to tell you how to do things here and there. But it only took you 1 year. You were 23 years old, and you were given the keys to the car. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because I think as a young coach, there are ways that you can relate to the players well. But I was very conscious of that also, made sure even things I don't do now, like tucking my shirt in, made myself look like a coach out at practice, just to kind of separate myself and make sure that the players knew, hey, I'm not just one of you guys. Had to kind of command that respect at an early age. But our players really bought in. The coaches, even though they were older than me, more experienced than me, bought in. I think I've told young coaches, I think one thing that I did well early on was bring in people that I knew more than me and had that head coaching experience. And I tell young coaches or really young leaders in any position, you have to be confident in yourself and not worried about bringing in somebody else that may have more experience than you. So I did that and brought in people that have been state champion head coaches before. I've got one that's still on my staff as our defensive coordinator. But that was probably one piece of advice that I feel like, okay, I probably did this right and would tell someone else to try to emulate if they got a leadership position at a young age.
you have brought success to a program that obviously struggled for many, many years. You got a playoff win. It was the first one back in 2012. It was the first one they'd had in nearly 40 years. You won a state championship. You've been in the semifinals. Here you are against Riker in the semifinals as well. Why has your program been successful the last 10 or 11, 12 years?
Yeah, well, one thing I think we've worked really hard to have that stability in the program, not just me, but our overall coaching staff, and then just as a school, the turnover rate with our staff has been very low. So we've got a lot of continuity. We have a system that we believe in, and then we've just had the players really buy in. And early on, it was tough. We had some losing seasons in my second and third year. And then we had a great group of players that came up that we had been with since middle school, really just developing them. And then some transfers that came in and helped kind of get us to that next level. And then since then, it's really been awesome to just kind of see that momentum. It was a lot tougher to get that momentum going or in the early stages, but now we've kind of built that program, and people understand that our job is to outwork everybody, and we try to do that day in and day out.
You played Riker earlier in the year. Obviously, it's been a strange year with the number of games or games that have been postponed or canceled altogether, but you played them earlier, shootout. Are you better now than you were when you played earlier?
We are. I think both teams are, for sure, better than – and it's been 2 months since we played. So I think both teams are better and both teams are different than when we first played. But we turned the ball over way too many times when we played them the first time. And everyone says, oh, it's tough to beat a team a second time. I think really it's tough either way for either team because we know that they beat us, but we also know that they're not going to come in overconfident. They're going to be prepared. And both teams, I think, are, especially for small private schools, both teams are loaded with skill position talent. I think we've both got those skill players, so it'll probably come down to the job that our offensive and defensive lines are able to do. I think that might be the difference in the game.
You eventually went to Howard Payne, as you mentioned, and played quarterback there and had a chance to really put up some big numbers. And after your time at Baylor, what are your thoughts when Guy Morris left? He started to set the table. The indoor facility was part of when Guy Morris was there. And, of course, we know the run they had under Art Briles, what Matt Rule did, and this year with Dave Aranda's first year. Your thoughts just when you watch your alma mater. This has been a tough year, but your thoughts about Baylor football in general.
Yeah, well, as I said, I grew up watching Baylor, following them in the 90s with Roberts and Steele. And so, yeah, it was awesome to kind of be there and see Baylor turning the tide with Coach Morris. And then, of course, as Coach Briles came on. So, yeah, I think this year, I think we can look back to Coach Rule's first year and realize when a new staff comes in, we've got new coordinators. And it's been such a strange year that we didn't have that extra time to do the spring ball and to do the typical fall camp that I don't think we need to be too focused on the wins and losses this year and just understand that Coach Aranda's coming in. And I've heard awesome things about him as a coach and as an individual. I think he's going to get us going in the right direction, just like we've seen with Coach Briles, just like we saw with Coach Rule.
Jason Lavorne, head football coach at First Baptist Academy in Dallas. They play Riker Saturday, and this is Sic'Em365 Radio.
And again, we'll have that game broadcast, 12:30, the pregame, 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll have it on Sic'Em365 Radio and on 106.7 FM, The Eagle. Coming up next, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Let me explain what Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat has going on right now. The Big Finish event, amazing deals on the last of the 2020s at great discounts and even some 2021s. Most vehicles feature 0% APR financing through Chrysler Capital, plus no payments for 90 days. Today's Ram, the most awarded truck on the market, Alan Samuels, your Ram headquarters,
will give you the best Ram deal, hundreds in stock. But if they don't have what you want, they will find it for you because of multiple dealerships around and their connections in the United States. How about a new Jeep Christmas? Check out the subcompact Jeep Renegade, roomy Cherokee, Grand Cherokee. And if you've never set foot in the new Jeep Gladiator, you'll need to come by and drive one. It is spectacular. The Swiss Army knife of SUVs. Right now, you can go online if you want, AlanSamuelsDCJ.com, or drop by the dealership, AJ the salesman, but there are many others that do a great job as well. AJ's taken care of me from before to the fact I bought a car, and then also the service afterwards, and there hasn't been anything but an oil change. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
Car has the trucks, man, they have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man, he has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
Another blitz. Wobbly throw, and it's intercepted by Buddy Johnson. He's at the goal line, and he's in. A pick six for Texas A&M.
segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. With over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com, number 5 in the college football rankings. There's always this, is there going to be a 2014 nightmare between between Baylor, TCU in regards to A&M and Florida? In the end, Ohio State, here we are with them again, and Olin Buchanan joins us from TexAgs. Olin, number 5, what you think they were going to move up, down? Did you think someone was going to pass them, or do you kind of see what you thought you were going to see?
Well, I kind of thought they'd remain number 5, but I felt like that they were in danger of being passed up by Florida, even though they'd beaten Florida, and I didn't think that was right. But I thought the lackluster showing that they had in LSU, now there were some other circumstances involved, but you still are judged by the way you play, and they were kind of lackluster offensively against LSU. So I was wondering if the committee would hold that against them, and they apparently did not.
So what's their dream scenario here in the next couple of weeks, provided that they win the 2 games that they've got to play?
Well, the dream scenario is, you win out. Alabama beats Florida, and then I don't think you want to get in because Ohio State just can't play, right? But you'll take it. But so I guess your dream scenario is that, and I don't think it's going to happen, but Notre Dame or Clemson gets upset before they play. And if they don't, then you're hoping that Notre Dame beats Clemson again and that the committee won't be persuaded to take Clemson as a 2-loss team, because the argument will be, they lost 2, but they were both to the same team. So A&M still has they have work to do, and they have to get a lot of help. But, you'd rather be in this position than not being in the discussion at all.
Absolutely. And Olin, you mentioned a couple of things there from last week, but what were your thoughts on that 20-7 win over LSU? What stood out?
Well, from the positive side, the defense was really good. Outstanding. They've been good for quite a while, especially I even thought they played pretty well against Florida, considering the competition they were playing and the offense Florida has. But they were excellent. You can say, they had LSU had a freshman quarterback, but that guy moved the ball against a couple teams, South Carolina and Arkansas, and LSU always has running backs. So to be able to shut them down, I think I think that was really impressive. Now on the other side, let's face it, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Kellen Mond had his worst game of the year. Now you could say, they were playing in a rainstorm and they hadn't played for 3 weeks. And from our sources, Kellen was one of the guys that was involved in the contact tracing, so he couldn't practice either. So you can say that all contributed to him being, quote, rusty, unquote. But the bottom line is he's the guy that went out there to play quarterback, and he's the guy that's got to play better. He short hopped some balls, and then he overthrew guys that were open and was hesitant to run when the opportunities were there, and instead threw in the coverage. And then he, fumbled at the LSU 5-yard line, and you got to have better quarterback play.
Yeah, do you feel like because it's also a beauty contest, they got to just win whoever's next, Auburn? They have to just win the game. They can't worry about whether it's 37-3 and it looks pretty. They just need to win games. But do you feel like that could affect a team trying to do too much because of the score, the spread, anything like that?
I think that is. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. I'm not going to assume that had something to do with it, because early they were running the ball really well, and then they get into the second half and they don't run it at all. So it looked to me like A&M didn't adjust to LSU's adjustment. But I don't know. Look, but as far as the aesthetically pleasing, it was not. The beauty contest thing, I guess it depends on, if you like blondes or brunettes. Because if you like defense, A&M look pretty gorgeous. If you like offense, and not only would A&M look gorgeous, Ohio State wouldn't look good at all. But if you like offense, A&M didn't. A&M was kind of heinous.
What scares you the most about Auburn this weekend?
They have 3 receivers that are very productive guys. Anthony Schwartz may be the fastest guy in college football. He's averaging about, I think, over the last 3 games, he had a 91-yard touchdown pass in one game and a 54-yarder the other day, and not against Alabama, but before that. So he's a big play threat, and so is Seth Williams. Seth Williams scored the game-winning touchdown, caught the game-winning touchdown against A&M 2 years ago. And Eli Stove's just one of those guys, a good college football player. If you sleep on him, he can make a play. So I think that's what you worry most about Auburn. And also, Gus Malzahn just has a tendency to be able to find the right time to call a trick play against A&M, and they typically work. So not only do you have to watch out for those receivers, but you got to make sure that Gus doesn't trick you, because he's done it the last 2 or 3 years.
Isaiah Spiller, by the way, 27 carries. That's a guy I like from the beginning. I like the way he runs. I like the way it looks. Power, speed, 141 yards and 5.2 yards a carry and a touchdown. Is that a game they win without him?
Probably not, because again, he had the 52-yard touchdown run. He got really good blocking on it, but he made some really nice cuts too. And their backup guy, Devon Achane, who's a lot faster, he might have scored on it. But do you just know that a true freshman is going to go out there and make the same cut? You don't. And then, Isaiah had a 32-yard run that they squandered. Mm-hmm. So for a long period of the time, he was the offense. So, no, I don't think that they do. Or maybe they do because the defense was playing so well, and maybe they went 7-0 because the defense got that touchdown.
Hey, for your sake, you covered the team. We went through 2014. Baylor 61, TCU 58. Baylor lost the next week. You know the story, Alden. I hope that for the sake of A&M that it doesn't end up that way, or even Florida, that it doesn't end up that way, that it ends up being a cat fight rather than who needs to be or who should be if one of those other teams in front of them is jumped or beaten or whatever. But good luck with that. Holding on to that number 5 and getting up if you can, either A&M or Florida. Thanks for your time.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Texas A&M 11 o'clock kick against Auburn, and then Tennessee a couple of weeks to close out their regular season. When we come back, John Machota. Man, it's been quiet on the Cowboys front, huh? Because the game with Baltimore, who's playing right now, it's, 12-7 still. Pittsburgh's knocking on Baltimore's door inside the 2, first and goal. What's been going on in Frisco? And also the Star. John Machota coming up next on Sic'Em 365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty, what can he do for you? A lot of things. Pittsburgh just scored, by the way. He can help you become the high-performance man you want to be. How? Call them, contact them, pettycliniclowt.com. The phone number's there. There's also a button. You can click it, and you can also, if you want, contact them through the website. Say, I heard that you can help me feel, and perform better in many different ways, from just your energy to sex drive. Petty Clinic Low T can do this. Help you set up blood work. Get your blood work, get your blood drawn. He'll look at the result, and if your testosterone level has dropped at all or too much, he will put you in a program, or can put you in a program, to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be. And by the way, as you get older, testosterone levels can drop. They can. 1 out of every 3 men experience this. Low testosterone that helps, it creates a lot of things. Sleep, energy, sex drive, performance, much more, stamina. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville. But we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy, that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state. Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When it comes to value and great customer service, you can count on us. Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. As a Customer First Award of Excellence winner, our customers always receive exceptional service, and during the Big Finish event, you save thousands on every car, truck, and SUV. Plus, most vehicles feature 0% financing. The Big Finish event. Now at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Here is a handoff, and all the way to the house is Antonio Gibson. What a turn of events.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments, with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Pittsburgh is leading Baltimore 19-7, 13 minutes left in that game. RG3's thrown for 25 yards, a pick 6, and sacked 3 times. He's run for 68 yards on 7 carries, but Baltimore, without Lamar Jackson, struggling on offense. RG3, I was hoping he'd play a little bit better, but that's what it is, and Pittsburgh's pretty good. They're unbeaten, by the way, 10-0, and the Cowboys will play the Ravens sometime, I think.
Tuesday.
Yeah. John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys, joins us on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. John, I mean, they're going to play again, right? Eventually the Cowboys will play a game?
Yeah, for sure. I'm watching this game as well, and I'm kind of surprised that it makes the game that Garrett Gilbert had against Pittsburgh stand out a little bit here, considering obviously that one was in Arlington. It wasn't in Pittsburgh, but Yeah, no, they're going to play again eventually, and it's supposed to be against these Baltimore Ravens, and everything's lined up for them to play next Tuesday, and that's what they're preparing for. I mean, as we sit here right now, the Cowboys are at the start, sitting in position groups, watching this game too. That was a plan that Mike McCarthy said that they were going to do. After they I don't know if they watched as a team. They watched the Monday night game before they played Minnesota and obviously had success. And so that was part of their plan for today. They were going to have a light practice, and then they were going to watch this game in groups and go over their game plan and things like that, which is obviously something you normally don't get to do because NFL games normally are not on Wednesday in the middle of the day. So, and I think it's to a benefit to them to a certain extent because of the fact that you have young guys in this team, like rookies and things like that. They're almost getting a second bye week. So I guess that comes at a good time for them.
Yeah. John, back to Thanksgiving for a second and what happened in that fourth quarter. What do you think, in your opinion, is now the scuttlebutt on Mike McCarthy, given what was probably the worst string of coaching decisions he could have possibly made in one quarter?
Yeah, I mean, if he's a first-time head coach, I mean, he's not getting no one's making any excuses for him. It helps out a lot, obviously, to have the resume that he has, obviously having won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. But man, I've gotten in some arguments with some people about that. The one that really gets me is obviously the punt. In the fourth quarter, you're still in that game. You're only down 4. To fake that punt on 4th and 10 deep in your own territory, that makes no sense to me. And just having seen that play and knowing that that's supposed to be a pass to the punter, I don't get that at all. That makes no sense to me to call that in that situation. You're not playing the Steelers trying to steal the game. Like, you're playing the Washington football team, who isn't very good either, and you're going blow for blow with them. Like, and then honestly, like, you see what happens after it in the aftermath of them just getting their doors blown off. The very next play is long touchdown run, untouched. Like, you see how that goes, and you're just kind of like, I know you're going to say that you're trying to win the game, and that's why you did that. But like, I think it's better for your team if you just try and win the game playing it without stuff like that. Like, things like that make it seem like you're desperate. Like, I don't know. Like, I just can't. I was stunned because here's the other part of it. Like, all these other teams know John Fossil's track record. Like, I don't care where you're at with the John Fossil special teams. You're always kind of thinking, hey, watch it here. There could be something wild on this. Like, they have this, history of doing that, and he's obviously done a bunch this year. So I don't know. I know that there was C.J. Goodwin wide open 30 yards down the field, but that's one of the biggest questionable calls that I've seen a head coach make since I've covered the team in the last 10 years.
We're talking to John Machota, theathletic.com. Cowboys play Tuesday against Baltimore, who's right now trailing Pittsburgh 19-7 as well. Your thoughts about mentally the break, the longer time. They had the deal with Marcus Paul, and then they lose a game, and when they fell behind, and then they had the mistake of the fake punt, it's like everything fell apart. You feel like maybe the time off a little bit, in a way, the delay of the game could help them mentally, or does it matter with this team?
No, I think it definitely helps, and mainly with the Marcus Paul situation and him passing last week at the facility when many players were around. Like, it's very clear from talking to players and obviously Mike McCarthy and his staff that, it obviously hit this team hard. I mean, this is a guy that, those strength and conditioning coaches, they're around the players more than a lot of the other coaches are, just because they're the guys that they're always around in the off season. And so I think that's the big up there in terms of the way the game went. I really think that, the punt led to it being a blowout, that poor execution on that. But, I think everybody that watched that game and has watched the Cowboys this year knew they were probably in trouble when you saw Zach Martin go down and Cam Irving go down in a matter of a few plays. And you knew they weren't the type of like little ticky-tack injuries. Like, they were like, hey, I'm going to the locker room right now. And losing both of them with an offensive line that was already so injury-riddled, like, that was just such a huge gut punch. And so I think the long layoff helped in that sense. It's one of those things where it would really have helped if it was one of those type of injuries where you get Zach Martin back because of it. But it's sounding like right now Zach Martin won't be back for at least a couple more weeks. And if they lose a couple more games, it won't make much sense to bring him back. So his season could potentially be over. But that's the one right there that I think that kills any momentum you had coming up the Minnesota game.
John, do you have any long I guess, long game concerns over Ezekiel Elliott, or do you think this is just a product that, his struggles of a weird year and kind of the same things that everybody's dealing with? Is there any long-term concern on your part?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there has to be concern from being a person that evaluates the team and writes about the team. And then also, if you were working with the team, I think that there would be some concern too, because of obviously the money you have tied up in him. And also the fact that it's not like it was just this season. I mean, he was, last year wasn't great either. I mean, he's had games here or there where he looks like the Ezekiel Elliott we saw in 2016, 17, and 18. But there's definitely been times last year too where it was kind of trending in this direction. So, yeah, do I think he'll be better when you get Tyron Smith back and you get Lyle Collins and